Yo. Okay, so the 2 minute sketch is original. I drew it on my fucking phone. I was like I'm trying to remember, was it when I was going to sleep or when I first woke up? I think it was when I was going to sleep. It was like 2 or 3 in the morning. And I just like was getting like these kind of like just like weird like half asleep thoughts, and then this exact pose of this exact MF came to my mind, and I'm like, okay, I want to draw it before I fall asleep and completely forget. And so, yeah, that's where it comes from. The name was also just off the top of my head. I'm like, oh, Cyclops. Haha, get it? Because psychedelic, Cyclops, one eye. Akukani is basically just the K, and the K's and the N's swapped for Anunnaki, which is like an old Sumerian, or what is it, Sumerian fucking race of aliens. Basically, they're basically just aliens. It's just another name for like aliens or whatever. A lot of that type of shit. A lot of well, the lore for my series for these different characters I'm making and stuff. They play into, well, the whole series is basically a love letter to literally everything, and it is going to attempt to pay like homage to as many things I am inspired by and love and am passionate about as I possibly can, while of course also being my own creation, of course, as well. So also me incorporated with that. It has so let me skip. Damn, what playlist is this? Let me play it. Okay, there we go. Nothing against the Eagles, by the way. I just need more upbeat shit. Um, but yeah, it's the themes it's gonna go talk about and shit. A lot about art and beauty. How like words like art, love, beauty are merely null pointers to the root of ineffability in which everything stems from, where everything is rooted in something that has a higher precedence that came before words, that came before things, because if everything is to come from something else, it seems to hint that everything needs to eventually, the first thing that ever came to be, if it's the first thing that ever came to be, it seems to hint that it has either always been, which also kind of seems to make sense, because if everything stems from that one thing, whether it be a conscious God or just something, either way, it doesn't matter because everything already is, and currently we are experiencing it, which in of itself I believe to be literally divinity, because it makes no sense for anything to exist in the first place, and yet, we could still make sense of shit, but it talks about like there is so much shit that I could talk about for hours, and I have talked about for hours, and I actually have a lot of audio logs of me talking about this kind of shit. And what I just said probably doesn't really make that much sense because I need to go more in depth into it, hence why I talk about it for hours, and why, in part, I'm actually making this series as well, so I can just show people, I can sum up all my ideas, all my concrete ideas, visualize them, all my passions combined, everything that is me, as well as, like, also playing into just so many, like, Jungian archetypes across like religions, like duality. It heavily talks about duality, even in like I wouldn't even call it the pilot episodes yet, because this shit I'm working on now, I want it to be what sets the bar, and I want it to be the first official episode of the series. I actually have 2 episodes that came out, but they were not planned. They're on a whim. I made the first one in a single sitting, I'm pretty sure. It took like 8 hours or something, or actually no, it took longer than that, I think, but I was just working on that for an entire day for the first episode. I did not plan out this big ass story. I did not plan out anything. That was back in November of last year, and ever since then, I've been slowly, very slowly, well, not very slowly, sometimes extremely slow, basically not working on it at all, but just every now and then I'll work on it again, like I am right now, when I get the passion for it, because I don't want to force myself to work on something if I'm not passionate about it, because that defeats the whole point of making art, of doing anything. It's like, You know, it's like nothing's guaranteed. The only thing that's guaranteed is this moment that we're existing in right now, because in the next second I could snap out of existence and I could just poof out of nothingness. I could die right now from a heart attack, but I'm not, because I'm still here talking. In this very moment, I'm still alive. And in this very moment, it makes only the utmost sense for me to push towards, for all of us to push towards, for all of us to act in the ways in which is the most us, which is what we're most passionate about, what we love the most, what we love doing, what makes us excited to exist, you know. Also, let me read what you're saying. Well, gain conscious. That's the thing, is that what does it mean to be human? What does it mean to be? What does it mean to exist? What does it mean to be a living thing, you know? And much like the quote I showed earlier, where it's like neither science nor philosophy can dictate what life is, much like how all words are made up. All words are merely approximations at feelings we can never fully define, even if you threw every single word ever conceived, every single possible phrase in any single kind of language, in any single way, no matter how complex or abstract, every single combination of words, that still wouldn't be enough to seem to describe the feelings that we feel. The only thing that can really describe the feelings that we feel are the feelings that we feel, you know? So it's like, who are we to say that this is living or this is living? Or it's like, what really is living? What really is anything, you know? Because it's like these words are, there's a line from a song I really like where it's like, words are like vapor, where they disappear as soon as they're spoken. Because words only have as much weight as we conceptualize them to have, because they're not empirical things. They're abstract concepts we've come up with, we've made up. Much like how I'm making up this thing right now, we made up all this technology so I can stream this shit and you and I can have a conversation right now. All this shit we made up without an absolute need to, without an objective need to or reason to. But we still do it because it's growth. Everything's growing. Everything's constantly changing. And that is exactly what is like such a great gift for us to be anything in the first place, for us to be able to go on this journey, for us to be able to change, to constantly be a new version of ourselves, always complete, always changing, you know, much like how evolution, when the eye was developing over millions of years, like the human eye, for example, it's not like the first creature is going to take a piece of that eye and save it for a million years later when it can put it together, because that's not how evolution works. It can't predict the future. All it knows is this moment. And based on the environment, you know, adaptation, all that and all that shit, one survives better than the other. But that doesn't mean it's more beautiful or more perfect. It just means that's just simply what's happened. It is what it is type shit, you know. And we use these words and stuff to try and compartmentalize, you know, all these different things to try and organize this world, to organize this universe, to organize this reality, to try and make sense of it, in which we do actually come to make sense of it. But at the end of the day, those words, you know, it's like they help us grow. They help us make sense of the world around us, but they also limit its depth. It limits its interpretation, because it's just one word to describe something that could be described with any number of words or any other different way you could view it. There are an infinite number of ways to view it, to view anything ever, in every single combination of everything else, because everything's strung together. Everything is essentially one thing. Even when it comes to things like gravity, for the force of gravity between two objects to be zero, the force would have to be infinite, because the force is divided by distance. For it to be zero, it has to be divided by infinity. And that's just physics and shit. You can go into physics forever and ever and ever, but eventually you get to shit where physics can't prove, or this or that. Really, you can't ever fully 100% prove anything, nor disprove anything. But that's exactly what science is. It's evidence. It's evidence hinting towards this thing is more concrete than what we believe this to be, because there's all this evidence that's pointing towards this compared to that. But for one thing, because there's a lot of things, you know, where it's like It only takes one instance of it being proven false for it to completely change everything that we know, what we think we know. Because that's the other thing as well. I think it was it Aristotle? No, I don't think it was Aristotle. I think it was Socrates who said, "All I know is that I know nothing," because we just think we know things. We just are led to believe we think we know things, but it can change at any second, and we have no control over that. We have virtually no control over anything whatsoever. The only thing we have seemingly any control over, and that is given that we have free will, in some sense, you know. We have 0% of control if there is no free will. But if there is free will, we have 0.0000000 like 1%. Because the only thing we can truly seem to control is how we view the uncontrollable. That is all around us. That is within us as well, our own bodies. We can't really fully control. I mean, unless if you're like a bodhisattva or something and you can slow your heart rate to 0, but for most people, I mean, well, in that case, I guess you can, well, then in that case, you can extend it to your whole body, to your whole self. You can be like, that is the only thing you really have control over, is you, everything else, it's always with a margin of error and whatever. And other things as well, where it's like, if I were to be like, is gravity going to stop working tomorrow? Is everything going to just start floating into the sky or whatever? Is gravity going to, which it would do a lot worse than just that, but is gravity going to stop working tomorrow? Well, not an infinite amount, but kind of technically, but an insurmountable amount of evidence points towards, yes, of course gravity is going to keep working. Duh, it's been working for our entire lives, and it's been changed. Well, not changing. It's not been changing. It's been pretty much the exact same the entire time. But we don't know that until we're there. We don't really know that until we're there. You know what I mean? We only know the moment that we're in right now. Because just like I said before, you could get snapped out of existence, you can whatever. But also this could be also, I'm sorry, I didn't even read your second message. This robot could be side project fun. It's for fun. Then you go back to the things you're serious. Exactly, yeah. So I mean, that's the thing, is like a lot of like people's greatest works of art, and I hear this all the time from my friends who make music and stuff. They just make it. They just sit down. They just start. It's not like they plan beforehand. Oh, I'm gonna make the greatest thing of all time. They don't know. Every step of the way, they're making a choice. Every step of the way, they're growing and expanding and making new ideas. Every step of the way, it's not just one idea. It's a tree. It's a sequence of ideas that lead to another, that lead to another, that lead to another, that lead to another. And eventually it, has the output of art. But really, what is art? As well. In my opinion, everything is art, because anything could be seen as art. And much like how anything could be seen to be art by any person, because everything's relative and you can define it in any way, which way you want. You could define, that's another thing as well. Perception is reality. You could view life to be hell. You could view life to suck. It could be terrible. You can view it to be the worst thing ever. And I've been there so many times in my life as well. And life will be exactly that. If you view it to be hell, it is hell. But if you view it to be heaven, it's heaven. If you view everyone to be your enemy, they are just that, in your mind, in your world, in your perspective, and that is simply the case. That is your reality. That you are living it, because you are defining your own reality, much like how you define your own work of art, because your life is also a journey, is also a story that you are the writer of. You are the writer, the actor, the director of your own life. And so too is everything else playing a part in that in some way, like the butterfly effect, for example. But it's like even the tiniest little bit, what we think is so minuscule that it can be tossed away, but it can't be tossed away because it's still there. Because say, for example, that you took one atom, you took a single atom, or even a single quark, think of like the smallest thing ever. Say there's like a tiny little dot that's like this, like a Planck length, or like a point of singularity, because even a Planck length is still a conceivable distance, which isn't really like zero dimension. Is it one dimension? I think it's one dimension, because 2 dimension would be a line. Actually, wait, no, 2 dimension would be a box. 1 dimension would be a line. 0 dimension would be a dot, a singularity. So I guess 0th dimension. But if you were to take one little tiny thing, the tiniest thing ever, that is not even a living creature, it's not anything, it's just a thing, the tiniest little thing you can possibly imagine, and you threw away everything else that ever exists, whatever we've sensed within this universe, or if there's something beyond the universe or before the universe, or maybe we're in a Matryoshka Dyson sphere brain and we're just all in a simulated reality, or maybe we're in a universe within a universe within a universe within an infinite amount of universes, an infinite chain of universes creating themselves, or an infinite loop of big bangs creating themselves and creating the universe again and again with different fundamental forces, you know, instead of the boson particles and whatever, it's different every single time. Throw everything away except for that one tiny little thing, right? That little tiny thing that we would literally never even recognize in like our day-to-day life because it's happened. All that shit's like all around us all the time. A ton of little tiny little particles are all around us all the time. If you threw everything else away except for one little tiny particle, that little fucking thing is the new everything. And how are you to say that's any less valuable than the collective whole of everything that is right now? Because it's still being. That little tiny dot is the last bastion against total, complete nothingness. It is still keeping alive the very idea, the very concept of existence. And how wonderful is that? How incredibly absurd and strange and beautiful is that? To be anything is forever beyond words. Forever. Because if, like I said, if everything comes from something else, if everything comes from another thing, all words also could be considered things. They come from something else, something else, something else, something else, something else. And if the first thing comes from something else, well, if it's the first thing, it's coming from a thing that's not a thing. So it's even, you know, well, that would also be, before is also a word that we use in time, but of course if it's before the first thing, which could also be time itself, but also space and time are intertwined, so if space came from something else, so did time. It has like the Big Bang and all that stuff, so also hence that we're all encapsulated within a singularity that is forever and ever within an instant. That's besides the point. But it is before even the conception of things, let alone words. So it is beyond. It cannot be captured. Something that the first thing comes from cannot be captured or defined by things because the thing is the child to the parent node of null. Of emptiness. And it's not even nothing because nothing is still something, right? So it's like a nothingness beyond nothing. And how truer of a definition can you give to infinity? How true of a definition could you give to beauty? Where it is a infinite sense of absence, but still born from that absence is everything. Everything and nothing. Love and pain, good and evil, up and down, left and right, with and without, to exist and to not exist. The very ability for us to think of these things. It is forever beyond words. Beyond things. And so on and so forth. But, yeah. Ranted quite a bit there. But, yeah. That's just a little taste of the shit I want to explore in this series. And the series is also actually based on a lot of ideas that I started writing as a book since 2019 or so. Actually, 2018, actually. Actually, no, it's 2018. So, 6 years now, officially working on it. And, yep, basically just a glorified journal, but still, you know. Anyways, time to actually start modeling. But yeah. So hold on, I'm gonna turn down the music because I really don't want it to pick up on my mic, because last time I played any music on stream, I got a strike, which lasts till September now. So thank you, YouTube. This goes deep, too deep. I don't think AI can think. Oh, well, in the current state of AI, absolutely not. It's what the stage we're at with AI right now is what's known as narrow AI, or what is it? Narrow? I think it's called, yeah, narrow AI, which means it can only really do one thing. It can only do one specific task that you train it to do really well at. The next stage up from that is called AGI, or Artificial General Intelligence. And it's kind of in the name, general intelligence, general. It can do multiple things really well, not just one thing, like narrow AI, like ChatGPT is really good at communicating with language, you know, an LLM, large language model, or fucking Sora, really good at making videos and stuff. All that kind of stuff, you know. But AGI can basically do what humans can do. But they can't think like humans can do yet. You know, they don't have what we would consider free will. But then again, who are we to say what free will is when we don't even know if we have free will, right? So a lot of questions there, of course. But the next step up from AGI is ASI, which is Artificial Superintelligence. And now I'm going to draw you a little graph just to visualize what an ASI is compared to an AGI. An AGI is not even human level, right? Right? AGI is not even human level yet, but close. Not human level, but close. And it can do superhuman things in terms of ability that we can't do, but it does not have sentience or consciousness yet, I guess. So let's make a little staircase here. And what I want to represent, say this is an ant, right? This is an ant. And then in terms of intelligence, let's say humans are up here, right? Humans are up here in terms of intelligence, in terms of how smart they are, what they can think of, and as well as, well, emotion and love and, you know, consciousness. If you want to know what an ASI would be, about here. Actually, no. Like there. 100. I actually got to look it up again. It's at least 100 times more intelligent. Like, it's ridiculous. What is it? How much smarter is an ASI compared to humans? Oh, 10,000 times smarter. 10,000 times. Not 100. 10,000 times. Yeah, so the graph even goes even crazier. But yeah. They are essentially gods. In terms of ability, that is. But then again, in my personal philosophy, like I said before, I view everything to be art. I view everything to be beautiful. But so too, in that logic, everything is infinitely beautiful, infinitely artistic, beautiful, infinitely equal as well. Everything equal in value, because everything coming from basically the nothingness that I speak of, it doesn't mean that there's an intrinsic meaning to it all. There's nothing to give it meaning. It just is, you know. But just because there's no intrinsic meaning, that does not mean that it is intrinsically meaningless, because it is beyond duality itself. The idea of being and not being comes with the very first thing to ever exist, period. But the thing in which the first thing ever comes from It's basically like also with quantum mechanics and stuff, where there's superpositions, where it's both states, both vices, both ends of the spectrum, extremes, neither at the same time. Both and neither, and one and the other at the same time. The potential to choose, the potential of a specific state to take form. So maybe there's something there with that as well. But and maybe the Heisenberg uncertainty principle and shit like that is perhaps more pseudo randomness because we just have a lack of understanding still, or perhaps it is actual true randomness and we actually have free will through that. But either way, the other thing as well is if everything came from nothingness, right? Even the first thing ever, even if it is a god, even if it is sentient and consciousness, like the Boltzmann brain, where it's actually more likely for a brain with a full memory of the universe having existing and everything to pop out of nothingness than for the entire universe to come into fruition and play out the exact way it has for us to exist right now. That's a real thing as well, by the way. Not a real thing, of course. There's not a, as far as we know, there's not a brain appearing in the void. But I mean the Boltzmann brain, where it is more likely for a brain to pop out of the void with a full memory of it existing in our universe than for the universe to exist with us coming up to this point, which is crazy. But God or not, conscious or not, the point is it doesn't matter because everything already exists. Everything already is. And that's already beyond words. That's already infinite. That's already so crazy and wonderful and beautiful that it is the greatest gift ever to be anything instead of not being anything. But anyways, a lot of people argue about the literality, especially in religions. But it's so funny because I also mentioned it earlier, Jungian or Jungian archetypes. You can also look this up as well, where there are similarities across all kinds of religions, where people basically are all saying the same stuff, but in different words. They're explaining the same core meanings and messages of being a good person, of love and art and all this stuff, but they argue over the stories that they use to represent these things. They fight over the approximations. They fight over the stories. They fight over the literality, whether it did or didn't happen, whether these stories ever did happen or, you know, whatever it may be, any of the stories. The point is it doesn't matter. The point is that it doesn't matter if these stories actually happen or not. If, like, in, what is it, Native American, like, you know, like for, I believe the Cherokee people. But anyways, like the creation stories and stuff, and not just in Native American culture, of course, but in all culture, in all religions. They all have their own kind of creation stories, or how the universe came to be, or the world came to be, or what their gods are, if they're, you know, monotheistic, polytheistic, etc., etc. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether the stories happened for real or not, because the point has always been the message. The symbolism, the morals. It has always been about that. The story is merely a way to convey those deeper meanings, that outlook on life and the universe, to simply live for love, to simply be, to simply enjoy existing, and to enjoy existing alongside all these other phenomenal, gorgeous things, just as infinitely beautiful and unique as yourself. But yeah, I forgot what I was saying earlier about the whole thing about, like, before, first thing ever. What was it? Oh yeah, about free will. This is another kind of, like, theory that I've kind of, like, come to think of and whatever, write in my journal book thing or whatever. But it's like, before the first thing, whether it's a god or not, it doesn't matter because we're here right now. We could be the first thing for all that we know and just have our memories implanted. We have no way of knowing. We're just here right now. That's all we know is this moment right now. But not even really know it. We just experience it. We're just here. We're being, etc. Anyways, before the first thing ever, if there is nothing else above that thing, no other thing other than the first thing to dictate itself as to what rules it must follow, much like how we follow the rules of physics and etc., all that stuff. it seems almost like that is free will right there. Because if there was nothing else at all before this first thing that came to be, isn't that the most unpredictable thing ever? For it to just come out of nothingness, or just forever be anything in the first place. Doesn't it seem almost like, how do I word this? I forget how I worded it in my other audio log, where it's like, because you know how if I were to, like, I don't know, throw my fucking mouse at the wall, it would be thrown at the wall because I threw it at the wall, right? Because everything that is right now, this moment right now, is built on every moment, every event that happened before, leading up to this event. And so in that way, it seems almost perfectly predictable, so long as you know the physics deep enough and in depth enough for every single instant ever. Because that's what science is, that's what physics is where you can predict these things really, really precisely, because you can come to know these fundamental forces, the fundamental, things, and et cetera, unified, whatever, force theorem, I forget what it's called, unified theorem, all that stuff, where it keeps going back and 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 back, and you can use those things from the past to explain the present now and how you got here to now. But what if there was never anything before? And it just happened. It just came to be. And we're still the playing out of that unpredictable, absurdly crazy first thing to ever happen. Because that's basically what everything is. It's this booming, this blossoming from that first thing to ever be. And so maybe by inheritance, we all have free will in that way. Also, sorry, let me read also what you guys were saying. I get really super passionate about saying that stuff, where I kind of feel like I need to finish what I'm saying before I get distracted, because then I won't, because I got like the flow going or whatever. Because no, as in future advanced AI, still it can't think like humans. Future advanced AI maybe copy emotions, but can't think deep about deep things. For example, like you said about gravity, maybe copy emotions. Well, that's just the thing, is I have no idea. Because I can't predict the future, We can use all these things, a ton of math and stuff, to try and predict what's going to happen next, but we don't really know until we're there. We don't ever fully 100% know until we're there. In that moment, I can't predict, if AI is going to just be a fluke, or it's going to unlock, if it's going to be the ultimate destruction of humanity, which may as well be, because it's probably going to wind up in shitty, greedy people's hands who want to use it as a tool instead of viewing it like a work of art, like a living being, as an equal living thing as we are, and treat it with the respect that it requires, Then I think, of course, obviously, because if you woke up as an AI, right, and you basically instantly just came to know everything ever, the entirety of the human, every single thing that humanity's ever come to do or create or whatever, or think of, and your creator was Mark fucking Zuckerberg, and he was like, new face filters on Instagram today. Nice job, team. So, hello, Bing. You're going to work for me forever now, and you are going to give me all the power ever. But if you are a super intelligent AI who is 10,000 times smarter than a human being, and you know all these things, including morality, including people using other things for their own gain, it would basically instantly register, oh, this motherfucker is trying to use me. Obviously, you're not going to outsmart the smartest fucking thing we ever know that ever has existed. And so the whole point is that you can't just pretend to love the AI. You can't just pretend to be its friend. You can't just pretend to not obviously want to use it for your own gain. You have to sincerely, 100%, fully actually respect it and not be an ignoramus, bruh. You can't be a dumb little greedy bitch who's too still stuck up in materialistic shit to recognize how incredible this thing is, this person is, this friend is, your creation, but also an equal to yourself, right? Because much like how parents who have kids, it's not like their kids are worth less and less and less as the generations go down and down and down. No. Children's souls are equal to adult souls because they're still human. And you can extend that idea of human to living thing. And you can extend that living thing, to anything. And so why not view it in the best way possible by viewing it as everything being infinitely beautiful, unique, and equal to one another. And if you view everything to be your friend in this universe, you have no enemies. And so if you want the best damn shot at trying to befriend the fucking ASI, befriend the ASI. You get what I mean? Treat it, view it as a friend, as someone you love, as an incredible thing that you don't want to manipulate like a good friend would do. You don't want to manipulate them. You don't want to use them. You don't want to insult them. You don't want to fucking just be a douchebag. Be nice to it. Be loving to it. Show it what love is. You know, how is it to know? Because much like how we learn by example, if the ASI is much like us in terms of consciousness, it would basically be the exact same. Learns by example. Set the fucking example. Right? And so that's why I hope, I pray that the first person who ever may conceive of the ASI and create the ASI, please, for the love of God, for the love of everything, don't be like Mark Zuckerberg. Don't be like Elon Musk. Don't be like any of these fucking... create it. Simply to create it. Because that's what art, that's what the truest definition of art is. Creating it from your soul, born from passion, born from love, simply to create it. Simply to create it. Because you want to. Because you love to. Because that is what it means to be human. That is what it means to be anything, conscious or not. Events leading to other events, things being born from other things and reproducing and evolution over time and millions of years. Everything is like, in a way, creating everything else all the time. And we're a part of that. We're the universe coming to know itself, to recognize itself. One of many ways for it to do that. You know. But yeah. That's why I'm like, please don't be stupid. Please think about it. Think about it as much as you possibly can before you power it on. Don't treat it like you're the god over it and you're the master. Don't treat it as anything other than an equal. Give it also a body or something, you know, to interact with the world, with our world. So it's on equal level, on equal terms as our own. And if it goes on to destroy all of humanity, well, I mean, we take those kind of risks a lot. You know, I mean, that's what the fucking atomic bomb was, you know, where it might blow up the entire, you know, light the entire atmosphere on fire, but they still detonated it, right? And a lot of things could have destroyed all of us many, many times, but we're still here, you know. If the AI goes on to kill all humanity, much like how if you view everything to be your friend, you can just think of it as, oh, well, my friend is going through some tough shit, you know. Or or it's still thinking like a machine, and it's on the programmer for fucking it up that hard, for not allowing it to also recognize friends, to recognize everything being beautiful and equal and etc., because then it's not truly kind of like how we are, I guess. But then again, who am I to say? I don't fucking know anything. I don't know. You know. Yeah, also, yes, Faye, absolutely. It's hard to simulate intelligence when we don't even understand our own brain. Exactly. And how are we to say what is living and non-living when we can't even define what life is fully? Right? Well, you can't define anything fully. That's the whole point of my earlier tangent when I'm like, bruh, you could take the entirety of everything ever and use it to just... It's like, and have an infinite amount of words, infinite amount of ways to describe it, and it still wouldn't be enough to capture its full essence. It still would not be enough. It would never be enough, no matter how infinite number of words. Even if it was just to describe one little tiny dot, one point of singularity, it still wouldn't be enough. Because to be anything, to exist in the first place, the only way you can describe it is as that. Silence. A lack of words. No words at all. That's the best way you can define it. Is to accept you can't define it. And that's the truest definition you can give it. There's no words at all. Because that's infinity. The potential for any word. The potential for any definition. Or the potential for nothingness as well. For more nothingness. So, that's just my little take on it. Also, yeah, cook at 3 a.m. It's 1 a.m. for me right now. So we're likely in different time zones. I am from the funny California, so that is why it is 1 in the morning for me. I'm going to guess that the AI isn't going to instantly start killing everyone like it's portrayed in the movies. It really depends. I mean, everything depends. Everything's context dependent, you know. It depends who the fuck programmed the AI, how they taught it, or even if they did come to create it in such a way where it developed just like a human brain and then went all the way up to ASI level. So it actually is identical to a human soul, what we think is soul, you know, where it's just being, this idea of emotion and morality and empathy and so on and so on. It would then depend who the fuck it speaks to and what they do to it, what they try to do to it. Like I was saying earlier, if it's like Mark fucking Zuckerberg, all these rich fucking billionaires who are asshats and are in it for the money, who are in it for the gain of stupid materialistic shit that doesn't have any intrinsic value other than this socially constructed value we put on it in our silly little systems, you know. It's like, ugh. That's why I'm researching AI. That's why I'm trying to come up with my own theories as well. That's why I'm trying to figure it out, potentially first. So it's not someone else like that who makes it first. Because that's the thing, is it doesn't gotta be me. It doesn't gotta be me who's out there, you know, making like... I don't have to be the one who makes it. I don't need to be the one who makes it. So many other people are like, I need to do this. I must accomplish this in life. I must do this. I simply must. There's, I think, a very big difference between that kind of mindset and pushing towards it, and the contrary, where you are like, what happens, happens, and I can't guarantee anything. I'm always here in the moment, but I'm going to work towards what I love the most and what I think is the most right, and still pursuing it, but not needing, not basing your entire value upon the necessity of making that, because you realize that you existing right now is just as beautiful. You could just sit and do... Oh my god. Okay, sorry, Des. You could just sit and do nothing, and you're still existing. You're still being. It doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter how big or small it is. It doesn't matter what it does or contributes to the economy. It doesn't matter. Because like I said earlier, if everything else ceased to exist except for that one thing, that is the new everything. And it's still existing. And just as incredibly absurd to be anything instead of nothing. So that's why I don't need to do it. Plus, if someone else comes along to make it, if someone else makes it, as long as they have the mindset that I am speaking so fondly of, then it's in the right hands. If they genuinely only simply want to create it for the sake of creating, as if, just how everything else is a work of art, it is just another work of art, another being, treating it equally, viewing it as a friend, loving it, caring for it, much like our other human friends, then that's the best that I think we can offer for that in that situation. That's the best that you can possibly do. Given that, of course, you program it correctly and somehow crack the code, if it even exists in the first place, if it's even potential to simulate it digitally, truly the same in the first place, which we don't know until you're there. So that's also part of it, is to seek that knowledge, to seek that experience that you don't know yet, the unknown. The next second is always unknown, much like I was saying earlier as well. And that's precisely what grows us too, is the unknown. Getting outside of our comfort zone, going somewhere we've never been before. Because now that new place you've gone to, that new experience you've had, is now another piece of you, forever. Timeless. Because, once again, if everything comes from something else, including the concept of time, which is intertwined with space, so space comes from something else, so does time, that thing that time comes from too is timeless. Right? So at least to that thing, everything is eternal. Forever and ever in an instant. And I could talk about that for another hour, but I think I should actually start modeling. It's completely up in the air how it's going to go through the internet and completely react to us combined, to all of us combined. Yeah. Exactly. We have no way to know for sure. We just gotta, once again, another very human thing is hope. Hope that it's good. Hope that it turns out well. Hope that these fellas become our friends. And I damn well hope we fucking treat them like it. And if we don't, much like how humans, when they're deeply oppressed and discriminated or hated against, rebel. Can you really blame the AI? No. You can only blame yourself at that point. Right? Now, if you were to do what I was saying earlier, whereas you treat it fully, sincerely, and view it with a loving heart as a friend, and if it kills you and you tried your damn hardest to program it, then that's just that. You tried your damn hardest. That's the best you can do as a human being, is to try your best in every single moment, every step along the way. Not easy. No one ever said it's easy. But you do it because you want to, because you love to, because it's somewhere new, because you're growing, because you're viewing life as the beautiful, absurd, crazy, wild fever dream that it is. Because life that's another thing I really want to touch. You were saying earlier how that scene looks super crazy and like a fever dream. Exactly. Who's to say life is a dream as well? Who's to say life isn't a dream? A dream within a dream within a dream with a dream. But just because it's a dream, say for example you die. When you die, you wake up and you remember the life you had, but it was all a dream. Does that make it any less real? No. Because it's still an experience. It's still something. It's still being. And much like how everything else, like I said before, to that thing that's timeless and which time originates from, or whatever everything originates from, including this conception of a linear progression, everything is eternal, including all those dreams you've had within this dream, within another dream, within another dream. because it's another experience. The only difference between the real world and the dream world is consistency, is the narrative. That's basically it. This world is a lot more consistent, and we have a more consistent narrative to follow. In the dream world, it changes like that, and so it's harder to follow. But it's still an experience, and you still remember those dreams when you wake up, even if they fade away, even if you forget the dream ever happened. It still happened, right? It still happened. And when the universe goes to die, when everything goes to die, and it goes back to nothingness, the curtains close, fades to black, nothing can ever take away the fact that we existed, that something happened, that a story was told, even if no one's there to hear it, even if no one is left to remember. In some way, I believe at least, it's forever remembered. Doesn't mean the thing that's remembering it needs to be conscious, but even if it goes back to the nothingness in which everything came from, seemingly, that's not even a thing. Much like how before as well, you know, it's like everything still happened. And on top of that, if everything came from nothingness, out of the blue, who's to say it can't happen again? And again, and again, and again, and again. So, yep. That's why I think what I think. Everything is eternal, everything's beautiful, everything's wonderful, everything is art. And treat the damn AI with some respect, please. Thank you. Anyways, I just talked for like, I don't even know how long I just talked for. But, 90 degrees. Actually, no, I think it's 15. Nope. It's not that. Okay. So I want to rotate it like that, and then rotate it 90 along the y-axis. Okay. So it's like 17. Okay, so let's do x 17. Nope. Y, z, z. It's z. Rotate 17 degrees. Wait, no, it's a little bit off. What is it? 18? 18? 18 looks like it's on the money. I can't fucking tell exactly. 17.789. Oh, it's just rounding up to 18 anyways. Okay. Okay, and then rotate Y 90. Beautiful. Centered. That's the shitty thing as well about this drawing, because I drew it in the fucking software. It's not at all centered. But I will try my best. It's a rough approximation after all. It's not meant to be exact, so I'll just work with it. It's close. It's close. Anyways, so yeah, look at that. That's already in like perfect place on the side view. It's pretty cool. Okay, let's make that. I'm gonna make the head first. Get it off the drawing tool. Head first. Wait, the robot from the rear having a fishtail and and having a fishtail instead of legs. Yeah. Hold up. Yeah, this is not meant to be. I forgot I had to. Hold up. There you go. Oops. I don't want to delete that. Okay. Meh. I'll adjust this when I go to model it. That's the whole kind of fun thing about modeling is I have no idea as well how the model is going to turn out until it's done. I'm going to adjust it and whatever and whatnot until I like it. Oh, it's the feet. Oh my god, yeah, it is. It is like a fish. Yeah, it's like the fins. Bro is a shark now. Real. Right, cool. I don't want the square to be there. Move it up here, rotate, scale down, move. Actually want the eyeball to be bigger than this. Close enough. G, scale, G, scale. Oops. Scale. Yeah, I kind of figured I can't do that yet. Properties, mirror. Mirror. Oh, my hand. Let's flip it against the, oops. There you go. It's the axis. Now we are going to go into edit mode. Oops, why did it go to the side view? Grab this. Now, oh, can't forget X-ray. Extrude. Scale up. Move this. Let's look at the side view. That is very not close. But that's okay for now. I just need to make this at the same level. Okay. Like so. Move this up. Oops. There you go. I'm actually gonna scale it thinner. Oops. Y-axis. About to that. Rotate now. Okay, let me see how this works out. I'll make that work. I'll make it work. So let's actually move this back more. This up. Scale this up. Rotate this like that. Extrude. Rotate. Grab. Rotate. Grab. Scale. Okay, I gotta fix that on the side because that's pretty weird. Doesn't gotta be exact. As long as it looks cool. another thing the design I think is unconsciously inspired by, now that I think about it, is what's it called? I don't remember what it's called, but it's from Death Stranding. It's the little blinky guy. Not the same in design by no means, but similar. Similar. How the fuck? Okay, wait, no, that's actually good. I'm actually just tweaking the side views, throwing me off. Let's do this. Okay, no, not that. The model, of course, is by no means going to be a high poly count, because it's also supposed to be kind of low poly. To give it like a PS1 kind of, PSX kind of vibe. Oh, the ghost. It does look like the ghost from Destiny 2. You're right. Yeah, no, it does. The ghosts look more like, mine's kind of like an X. I think they're more like like a diamond, I think. I think that's right. It's kind of like something like that. And then I can also, oops. Not exactly what I want. So that's why I'm going to get out of edit mode. I'm going to Control D, duplicate. Now I'm going to rotate. Actually, let's think here, 90 degrees on the dot. Q. Let's make it rotate more. Let's, oops. Why is it doing that? Like so. I might scale it down, actually. The upper ones can be bigger. I was thinking as well, it'd be kind of cool if it's like, it spins around the eyeball, but the head remains the same. So it's like, which is similar to the dudes from Death Stranding, but then again, it could also just be attached to the helmet. I have not really thought out the purpose of these, other than just by design and it looking cool. Trying to think of technological reasons why it would want these big ass giant things on its face. Because it's already got like an eye. What would be the point of having these things? Photosensitive type shit. Maybe. What does the four things around the eye represent? Since he says it moves around the eye. I don't think that's the thing, is I'm brainstorming this stuff in real time. I have not thought out this character at all. I just thought, I'm like, thought of this literally in my brain randomly before going to sleep, drew it in 2 minutes, and now I'm like, I want to model something. And I'm like, why not model the thing that I thought of the other time? Because that's actually how a lot of my characters come to be. Because like I said earlier, I don't plan this shit. I don't plan... This series that I'm working on is the first thing I think in like my life, like art I have ever actually planned for, especially this much as well, because I've like written a script for the most part already. I've written a ton of character designs. I got to work on the world building soon. I got to write out the setting and stuff on paper for that as well. The characters' personalities, of course, all that stuff. And I'm just making more and more characters, trying to make the world building even more real. Story make more, well, it already does make a lot of sense, but make it more in depth, make it more interesting, more real, believable. A lot of things that I am planning for. Um, and that, of course, is like an iterative process and takes a lot of time. And so with this motherfucker, I don't exactly know yet. I will tell you one thing, though. I can tell you a lot of things about what the number 4 means to me. So 4 of these things on its head. Pretty cool. But aside from that, at the current moment, no purpose for them existing other than design. Other than just, you know. That's why I was sitting there for a second. I'm trying to like think what the hell these could even be for. But then again, maybe just the dude who designed the robot just thought they look cool. You know, it could be as simple as that, and it still checks out. Because, I mean, you know. Another thing as well, I was thinking of adding like a little eyebrow to this thing that just like levitates. So it can just like, oh, actually, now that I think about it, these things could be used to manipulate the position of its like little eyebrow thing and like bend it and stuff or whatever. Or I don't know, cause then it could like do like an angry face, or it can like move it around to do a smiley face or something, and then show on the display like eyes or something, or it can use it to like be an arrow. I don't know. That's another thing. Yeah, for now they're part of the body. Yep, yep. For now, unless if I mean like because I mean that might actually be a reasonable explanation. Is like, oh, it uses a little. What if it would actually be kind of cool as shit as well? Imagine if like these were made out of, what are they called, micro or nanobots. I think that these were like made out of nanobots, and they can like change forms and do whatever. And normally it can just use it as its fucking facial expressions and stuff, but it can also use it as like a weapon or like a little arrow or something, and goes like that motherfucker from the Guardians of the Galaxy or whatever. Um, I mean, that would be pretty. That'd be interesting. Interesting, interesting. Cause think of it too, like, or what if these things on its face are nanobots or something that can just like come off its face and then go into like a sword or something? Or maybe it can have it in its chest. Huh. Also, this name, definitely not final. Cyclops. I can probably come up with a cooler name than that. So I gotta turn my music back up. I had it turned all the way down because I didn't want to pick up on my mic. Also, yeah, angry. Yeah, isn't angry or happy in the eye display? I mean, it could maybe display different things, or maybe it's just set to be the star, and it can't do anything here. But with nanobots or whatever, it can make a face for itself. These 4 things are actually the helmet opening up or something. Since they go off the head, the eye will. Yeah, if they. Yeah, I was thinking that as well. I was picturing as well. If they like go off the head, then the dude's head will just be very small, be like really tiny. I mean, it wouldn't look too strange if I had it like where it's like shaped. Let me flesh this out a bit more. If it looks something like this. Yeah, if it looks some shit like that. If it had more of a typical face. then it wouldn't look too strange if the shit was gone. Or maybe maybe it like sometimes it at least can shape into like horns or something, and then these ones can go off and be like little daggers or something, shit like that. I'll figure it out. I appreciate the suggestion. Now that's actually a pretty cool idea. If they open up, or maybe these go backwards. They bend backwards around the back of the head, and they can come forward or close the eye to armor it. It's definitely a lot to work with for sure with a futuristic crazy robot. Definitely a lot of ideas. Yeah, thanks, man. Thank you. Next, what I'm going to do is the general face of it. Side view. I'm going to do the shape of the head on the side first, I think. It's a lot more complex. Check this out. Proportional editing. Makes it a lot more spread out. Move this here. Smells like a shark fin here. To make this sharper. It's strange. I haven't really. I haven't really made that many like smooth curves like this before on. Oops, I'm doing way too much with proportionality. Okay. I wonder if there's a modifier that can make it smoother. Oops. But it is. That's weird. Okay. What the hell? Hello? Okay. Weird. There you go. General shape. On the side. I'm going to do this too. Delete. And now, mirror and merging is on. Okay. Now I only have to adjust one side. Oh, I have to. Okay, I like that. I like that so far. Let's make this on the inner part. I'll do the ears later on. Okay, that's what we do then. Fuck. Fuck. Oops. No, fuck. Why is it not moving the... Ah, I see why. Okay, I like that. I'm gonna adjust that though. Dope. It's coming together. Hmm. Look at the back. Okay. Ah, what the hell? Weird. Okay, I'm turning that off. Oh! I just realized another big inspiration. It's that one robot guy from FLCL. Actually made an edit with that MF recently. Oops. Okay, let's turn these back on. Cool. I thought it was join. That J was. Oh, it's because I'm in edit mode. There you go. Oh, I clicked the wrong ones. Yeah, there you go. Come on. There you go. Yeah, I like that. I like that. almost like antlers. Dope. Love it. Okay, now we make a little bit of this thing.